Hey everybody, so everybody's talking about the coronavirus. Well, I'm going to show you how you can prepare and not panic. Alright, so on the table in front of you is a ton of stuff, and you're probably thinking, dude, I can't afford to buy all that now. I get it, you know what I mean? The truth is you probably have a lot of this stuff already, especially if you've been following my channel for a while. And for maybe an additional $40 to $50, maybe $100, you can be completely stocked up. If nothing comes of this whole virus scare, you're better prepared. You're better stocked up. You're better ready to deal with issues that may come down the road. If something does come of it, you're going to be really happy you have it. So, what is coronavirus? It's a newly identified respiratory virus that causes pneumonia and was recently discovered in China. I think everybody pretty much knows that part now. Cases of this have spread all over Asia, as well as some in the U.S. As a matter of fact, one this morning was in California. Still waiting more confirmation on it, although it was an AP news story. There was one in California this morning. So, you got to worry about airports, people coming into the country, screening, all that. And I tell people, don't panic over this. The chances of you getting this are pretty small right now. Really, really small. So don't freak out. If you can't afford something to get prepared for it, it's not the end of the world. These are just complimentary items. Honestly, if you were to go out and get some masks, goggles, and a Tyvek suit, you'd probably be fine, just in case anything got really, really ugly. But I'm going to show you some things that will help you a little bit, make it a little bit easier for you. Now, coronavirus in general are viruses that cause a range of symptoms, including the common cold. You know, runny nose, cough, sore throat. Some are mild, such as the common cold. Others lead to pneumonia, and they're usually spread through direct contact with an infected person. That's what we're dealing with here. This is a pretty nasty one. You know, everybody says, oh, it's just the common cold. Well, this is a little bit more than the common cold. It's actually killing people as they stand in China. There's videos of people just tipping over, you know, standing at a corner, kind of getting a little wavy, and then boom, going down. So definitely don't underestimate it, but don't freak out yet. So some preliminary statistics. It's airborne, so it's same air-breathing transmission. Airplanes are a perfect transmission container for this item, for this disease. Assume someone on a plane with an infected person is contagious. So, pretty much. You're contagious 3 to 6 days after the infection. You're symptomatic anywhere from 7 to 15 days. That really varies depending on who you listen to. Adapt your preps to plan accordingly. If you have this weekend, maybe the next weekend, you can kind of complete things before it gets full-blown here, if it even does. You know, we've been through a lot of these. We've been through SARS and Ebola and bird flu, and so it may not get here. This is also about making you a better, well-rounded prepper, if I could speak this morning. So it's definitely a handy little way to add to your preps. And if you don't use it, well, guess what? You got something for the next time it happens, and you don't have to buy as much. All right, so what are the things we can do to prepare for it? You can be prepared for a possible 14-day or longer shelter in place. We all know the drill. Food, filtered bottled water to drink, meds, heat, comms, all that stuff. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some basic supplies. Of course, you know, water is the first thing, and of course you need to have water stored. But you also might need water filters. So we're going to get into that in a second. But I'm going to go through each little section on this table and remove things as I do it. That way it'll make it a little easier when we get towards the end. And I'll try to do it as quick as possible so this isn't a huge, long video. So let's get started. All right, first section over here, you got some masks. Definitely the most important thing you can do is get yourself some masks. Now, I know there's going to be naysayers on here that say it can get through an N95. I have N100s as well as full-on gas masks if need be. So, yes, this is a good start. There is some debate on how small the particles of the virus are, if they're 3 microns or 1 micron or whatever that they could get through. Generally, if you're wearing something like this, you can help not infect other people and possibly keep the infection away from you. So we're starting off with the masks. Next up, we get this over here. You can buy these little kits. A friend bought this for me, actually, knowing that I was a prepper during one of the last panics. And it lived out here for a little while because it got kind of beat up by the sun because it was near the window. But anyway, so I had to keep it out here. I have a bunch of other similar items, but this is a little kit that you can pick up either on Amazon or on in Home Depot. And it's got a respirator, earplugs you don't really need, and it also has goggles. Now, a word about respirators. As a general rule, you want a really, really good seal around your mouth, around your face, I mean. Those of you with beards, I hate to tell you, you're going to have to shave them off. Same with gas masks. If you're planning on using a gas mask and you have a beard, you got to shave it. So maybe you don't want to be doing that the last absolute second. If you get word that this is getting worse and worse, maybe you want to do it ahead of time. You want a good seal around the outside of the mask itself. So this is an option. This is a kit that they sell. It does come with an N95 and the goggles. It's a little bit expensive. You could probably buy the stuff separately, a little cheaper, but that's an option. Now, Tyvek suits. I do have some Tyvek suits, but they are buried underneath everything. What I had on top were these all-purpose coveralls. Overall. Again, I can't talk this morning. So, these guys here, these are polypropylene. This one's Tyvek, I believe. Yep. And these will cover you up, keep stuff off you. When you do, if this ever goes full-blown and it gets really bad, you do not want to wear these inside your house after you've been out. These are sort of a one-time use item, so make sure you have a good amount of them, unless you can decontaminate them. And generally, by the fabric of these things, you probably can't. So your best bet is to stock up on these. They're not too expensive. They will keep you protected. Now, you get some gloves like these. I got a deal on a bunch of these, so I have a bunch of them. Long kind of gloves like this. And you will put these inside your, let me pull this down to kind of give you a demo. Like this. You put the glove on like this. You tuck that in and duct tape it around. So you have a complete seal. That's why these have long sleeves on them. So with that, and a little bit of duct tape around the bottom if you're wearing boots to seal that area up, you're doing pretty good. Gloves are important. Anything from these to, say, these. Now, of course, I'm not going to be using these for an emergency. These are just the gloves I keep out here for handgun cleaning and stuff. So that's your first part. Masks, gloves, suits, all that stuff. Let's move to the next. All right, next section. But before I go into the next section, I know somebody's going to ask me about goggles. Your eyes are very permeable. That is a large way that diseases can get into you. If somebody sneezes and it gets into your eyes, it can get into your system that way. So that's why the goggles. Anyway, let's move on to the next section. So we've got Lysol, bleach, alcohol, and alcohol hand sanitizer. Not only is this stuff an awesome fire starter, but this stuff runs out when there's panics. I forget if it was avian flu or bird flu or swine flu, whatever it was, a couple years ago. All of our local stores here in town, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, about 6 stores that sell it, okay, from drugstores to Walmart. They were all out of it. Everything. I have several large bottles of this stored away. It is a little more economical to buy it in the big, big bottles. But all this stuff's really just representation of what you should have. It's not the exact item. And definitely have some hand sanitizer. In a pinch, if you can't find anything, rubbing alcohol works. You can make a little misting solution of this. You pour this into a mister, spray your hands down, like that. Easy to use. Lysol, of course, common sense. Lysol's great as a disinfectant. It has gone up a lot in price. I haven't bought Lysol. When I bought my Lysol for my preps, I hadn't bought it in a while, and I was like, holy cow, it's like $8 for 2 cans, but it's gone up a bit. Next up is bleach. Make sure you rotate your bleach. Okay? You can also use the pool shock tablets as long as they are pure bleach. You do not want anything else in them. But make sure you rotate your bleach. Bleach is good. Depending on your conditions, you store it anywhere from 3 to 6 months. I've used it up to a year, and it's still been good, but it loses its potency over time. So definitely make sure you stock up on that. Okay? Let's move on to the next section. All right, I don't have the duct tape out here because I, quite frankly, forgot to bring it out. But duct tape and plastic sheeting. This is 6 mil, pretty decent thickness. You may need to build a sick room in your house. Let's say you have a smaller apartment or a studio apartment. You may need to isolate a family member in half of that apartment and use this to separate. This is also good for covering up broken windows, whatever, in some kind of situation where that might happen. Duct tape. Regular duct tape. If you buy the stuff that's duct tape and has a little duck on it, that stuff's junk. It's not going to stick. Get yourself some good quality duct tape. God, I can't remember who makes it. Gorilla Tape. The same people make Gorilla Glue. That's pretty good. If you can get that metal plumber's tape or electrician's tape or whatever it's called, there's a billion names for it, and everybody corrects me every time I say it. That stuff is amazing because it forms around what you're trying to seal. If you're putting, say, an edge of this around a window that has intricate little designs, you can actually form that with your fingers and mold it right in there so nothing gets through. So, that's that part. Let's move on to the next section. All right, now we're into water filters. Now, I brought this big one out, the Life Straw family version. If you're trying to filter water for more than 1 or 2 people, Something like this is awesome. I have done a review on it. You basically hang it up, and this is just a huge life straw. It's good for at least 100,000 gallons, I believe. These are used all over the world for infected waters in, say, like places like Africa. You do have a pre-filter here that can be washed out, so it's kind of handy. You really just would hang this up somewhere in your house and let it hang down and filter. You're going to pump it through to clean it, but all in all, awesome little bit of gear. They aren't super expensive. I believe they were in the $50 range, not sure right at the moment, but they're in my store, so you can check them out. They may be way down at the bottom, but they are in my store. Next up, let me move this out of the way for you. Water Distiller. Now, I do not have a link to this. I bought this off eBay. You can buy these water distillers pretty much anywhere. Distilling is an excellent way to purify water. You can take salt water and turn it into drinkable water using this. This came with it. It's just an empty container. You will fill this up. It takes about 4 hours to do a gallon. This is not a fast method, but it does work very, very well. And again, I do have a video on this. If you search my videos for Distiller, the word Distiller, you'll find this. I think this was 58 bucks. I'm not sure. I know that they're all over eBay. They're all over Amazon. Pretty decent item. Pretty decent bit of gear. If you can't afford it, definitely a good water filter. And of course, it goes without saying you need water stored. So don't just rely on filters. Get yourself a good water storage system. I have 55-gallon drums. I have bottles. I have 5-gallon, those 5-gallon things you buy in the stores and refill. Get yourself a system that works for you. Depending on your situation, if you live in an apartment, you're not going to be rolling in 55-gallon drums. If you live on your property somewhere, I can just stick them in my backyard or out in my fenced-in back room and be fine with them. So, and I have a couple in the garage too here. So definitely figure out a way to store water and clean it. Let's move on. Now, a quick little note. When things get really bad, think about the dude that works at your local power company. People are dying in the streets. Do you think he's coming to work? No. So there's a chance the power could go down. If you are concerned about that, if you need power for, say, medical devices, I did a review on this a while back. This is the Sun Life Portable Power Station. This is in my store if you're interested in it. It's probably the most affordable one I've found. Have a way to back up your power. Now, I also have solar. I have another power backup I built myself. So there's tons of options. And if you check my older videos, you'll see that I've built lots of different things and that something like this even is well worth it. Have a way to cook. Is your house all electric? Mine is. And when the power goes, I don't have a stove or an oven. It could be as simple as this, little Lixada stove, 11 bucks on Amazon, or you can go all out and get a Coleman stove. Have a way to cook your food and boil your water. Again, boiling water, awesome way of purification. All right, let's move on to the next section. Finally getting some room on the table so you can see what's going on here. Next up is food. Now, of course, we always have our stockpile of our normal canned goods. Stuff like this, chicken broth, soups, all that. If you've been doing this a while, you got some food stored. But for situations like this is when I suggest MREs or simple, easy-to-eat type stuff. You may not be feeling all that great, and you may have to take care of yourself. If you live alone and you got to feed yourself, are you really going to want to break out your, frozen venison from last year's hunt and let it defrost and then cut it down and trim it? And you're going to want easy stuff to eat, stuff that goes in your stomach well, too. The MREs may not. But things like rice, chicken broth, chicken, stuff like that. You maybe don't want the spicy fajita stuff, although this isn't really that spicy. This thing here is awesome. These look like a little takeout Chinese food, but in reality, if you cut this open, it's just 2 bags. It's got the sauce and the noodles. So essentially, that would fit awesome in a little homemade MRE. And this is some of the stuff I use for the homemade MREs. But canned soup, stuff like that, vegetables, broth, rehydration fluids, powders, propels, stuff like that. Little individual propels. Did forget to bring those out. But stuff like that to rehydrate you if you've been vomiting or losing a lot of liquids from your body, definitely a lifesaver in a lot of situations. So, move on to the next section. And before we move on to other stuff that you're going to need to buy, I'm going to talk to you about having some cash lying around. This is the actual stash that I carry with me at all times. It's well hidden, but it's $100, $102 actually, and it can get me through in a pinch. You're going to want more than that, of course. It's put away somewhere, safe. I suggest either hiding it very, very well, or having a good safe somewhere. And, we've taken care of that here, but you're going to want cash because, again, if power goes out, how are you going to shop with your debit card? How are you going to get cash out of your ATM? Now, we haven't seen long lines of ATMs in China, mainly because people are too darn sick. But if you're in the middle of a pandemic, do you want to walk up to an ATM that someone infected might have used before you? No. And you want to avoid banks. And sometimes cash is the only way to do business. Businesses lose power, machines start to break down, people don't go to work because they don't want to get sick. Having cash can save your butt. Like I said, this is a mobile, this is what if I go into Vegas, this is hidden on me somewhere, That way I know that in an emergency, power goes out in the middle of town and I need gas to get home. No problem. I'm set. I'm good. Let's move on. All right, so I got a couple things here. We're kind of getting down towards the end. But first of all, baby wipes. Definitely handy, definitely clean, nice, and to be able to clean yourself up easily. I have these combat wipes here because I picked them up at the SHOT Show. But these work just as well. You can get them with alcohol if you want, or with sanitizer. There's so many different types of baby wipes out there now that you can pick up any ones you want. Like I said, these are what we use. You could get different stuff. Now, for the folks that say this stuff's too much to carry around if, you're out in the public, I'm going to show you something because I stuffed it in my pocket in between putting stuff away. These are little wet ones. These are sanitizing ones. And here's a little thing of alcohol gel and sanitizer that I used for the SHOT Show. Used quite a bit of it, actually. So they're not hard to carry around. A simple little thing like this helps with prevention a whole lot. So let us move on to the next part. Now, while we're talking about sanitation and cleaning up, I want to show you something. I did a video on this, so if you can hunt for it, you'll find it. This is your typical yard sprayer, all right? I bought a brand new one, and what I did was I made a shower out of it. This is a great way to get a shower. I painted it black. You take this, you fill it up, you stick it in the sun. I used different fittings. This fitting goes on here already, and I connected it to a little downsized fitting that fit into one of these. This is your typical sink thing. Wow, there's still got water in there from like months ago. Wow, that's wild. I have to check that out. So anyway, one of the cool things about something like this is you can make this into a decontamination device. You take 4 drops of bleach per gallon of water, and you can decontaminate yourself and others if you've been out in a bad... Now this is more for an extreme situation, but if you have an area outside of your house, and that's where the plastic sheeting comes in, that's why I saved it, you can set up a decontamination area where somebody will have to change into appropriate clothing, take off the clothing they were out in the public with, spray off with this, and you got yourself a little decontamination device. It also works as an awesome shower, honestly. You fill it up with water, how you normally use it. You'd fill it up with water, you'd leave it in the sun. That's why it's painted black. And you let it heat up in the sun, and it gets hot quick, especially out here where we almost always have sun. I could put this out, it's like, let's see, what is out there today? 42. I could put it outside in the sun, and this would heat up, and it would get hot enough to bathe in. So, in fact, in the summer, it gets too hot. So, you got your little shower here, pump it up, you're ready to go. But it can be used as a decontamination thing. This is something that only costs, basically, the parts to build it. I think it was under $30 total. I got all the stuff at Home Depot, put it together, and made myself a little shower. But it can be used as a decontamination. So let's move on to the last stuff. Before we get into all the med stuff, I'm going to show you quickly a little AM/FM radio, possible little digital TV. They make the little tiny digital TVs about this big, and I happen to have one out here so I can watch local TV. Just a little digital TV. Takes AA batteries. Turn it on. There's your antenna. Comes out and goes up. I don't know if I'll pick anything up out here. This is our local TV station out here. Come on, come in. No, it's not ready to pick it up yet. But anyway, this is a handy little thing. Oh, there you go. I did get some stuff. It's got a weak signal because I just put the thing down. This is a handy way to keep informed. And that's probably your best bet right there. Keep informed. You got a TV, you got a little radio. You can know what's going on in your local area. If you want to take that to an advanced level, you can get into ham radio and be able to communicate back and forth. And us hams tend to be working emergency events. If there was some kind of aid station. Generally, we'd probably be out there helping out. So You'll know a lot of what's going on by listening to the traffic on the ham radio. Also, too, a police scanner if you're in an area that the traffic is monitorable and not encrypted. There's a lot of digital scanners out on the market there. Last up, let's get into the meds real quick here. I don't want this video to run too ridiculously long. Thermometers. If you can find an analog one, get it. This is a digital. Also, remote thermometers. This thing isn't the most reliable in the world, but it'll definitely let you know if somebody's running 102 fever. Let's point it at the counter here. And the counter is 65 degrees. So, handy stuff. All your allergy meds. I like elderberry or sambucol, if you can find it. Really, really good at preventing. You're going to want diarrhea medication. You're going to want cough medication. This is some leftover stuff from my wife when she was in the hospital, so it's representing your prescription medication. If you are on prescriptions, talk to your doctor. Tell them, let them know you're a little concerned about what might happen, and you want to pick up some extra, maybe a 90-day supply. As long as it's not any kind of pain root killer, they'll probably give it to you, no problem. Most of the stuff is just, they want to make sure you're not overusing something. A good idea. Now, this is my smallest grab-and-go type meds kit. This is stuff that I generally, I'll grab when I need it, antacids, whatever. Get yourself some tubs and put your first aid stuff in clear tubs. That way you can see what's in there. I know where everything is in my storeroom. It's kind of frightening. My wife's like, how do you do that? Like, oh, you want this? It's over in that corner. And that. But once you pack this stuff away, you're going to forget what's in there. So I always say clear tubs for your medical supplies. But yeah, think about what you'd get for a flu or a cold and get that. It's definitely handy to have. Don't forget your pets as well. I've got 3 cats. I've got enough litter and food for them for probably a year stored away. So definitely don't forget your pets. Don't forget, too, you may need medications for your pets because this has been shown to transmit between animals and humans. Now, my animals are indoor animals, but if you've got a dog that needs to run outside every day and go to the bathroom, different story. If you have plans on what you're going to do, how are you going to set up the house? How would you cook without power? Test your stuff out. Like I tell people, that's the reason I started this YouTube channel some 5 years ago. I've had it forever. I just started doing videos on it. Because I wanted to test my gear out. I had so much gear I didn't know if it worked or not. I'd never used it. So I figured, hey, I'm going to start testing it out. And the next thing you know, I ended up reviewing gear. So test out your plans. Test out your equipment. Make sure everything works. If it doesn't, you can adjust it. And it doesn't take a fortune to do this. I know it looks like a lot of stuff. But, under $100, you can get yourself pretty well prepped, minus maybe any prescriptions you need. You can get yourself pretty darn well prepped. I mean, this stuff right here, black elderberry or sambucol, it's $12. That's a little expensive because I bought it in a health food place here. But I know Walmart has them for $9. So definitely check it out. It's a good way to get yourself a little better prepared and not scared. This stuff has the tendency to really scare the heck out of some people, and then some people just blow it off like, oh, it's just a common cold, It's you're kind of right if you're somewhere in the middle there, but the idea of the video is so that you plan for it and you don't panic. So let's wrap it up, and I will let you know my final thoughts on it and give you a little more information, and we'll be back in a minute. All right, so everything's all put away. I'll just give you a little bit of last information here. I will link down below to a CDC Families Checklist to get prepared. It, as much as we kind of laugh at the government and what they put out, it is actually a pretty decent list. Just some things to think about. And again, I don't want people to get freaked out about stuff. It's a lot easier just to be prepared, be ready for this kind of stuff when it comes around, because it seems to come around a lot more often. And if you have all this stuff, you're a little less worried about it. So really quickly, I just want to go over what you're going to need. Stuff like N95 and N100 masks, goggles, gloves, Lysol, bleach, alcohol, hand sanitizer, duct tape, water filter, all that kind of stuff. Water filters, OTC medications, prescriptions, anything like that, definitely handy. So I'm going to finish putting away some of this stuff because I still have the sheeting out here. And I will talk to you soon. Don't forget to check out our links down below. And again, if you have a specific request on any of the stuff I showed out here today, mention it in the comments. I'll try to find the video for you. Anyway, folks, I thank you for watching. Don't forget to check out our Amazon store down below there. So there's nothing in the store you like. Just shop as you normally would. It really helps out the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. And don't forget to check out our Thrive and our Olight links down below. Thanks for watching, folks. Stay safe and be prepared.